Yes, guys, welcome back to the Once You're In podcast. As you can see, for people who are watching, we've got a very special guest, a very handsome guest in the middle. He's like a rose between two thorns. If he's in the middle of my screen, I'm assuming he's in the middle of most people's screens. It is the man of the moment, I guess, which I bet he's like, what the fuck are you on about? So, Jack Kinsey-Clough, everybody will, I imagine, who listens to this podcast probably know who you are, mate, because of the controversy from the past weekend. So we won't jump straight into that because for engagement, we need people to stay till the end. All right, so we're going to keep you for like 3 hours, mate, and then just at the end we'll be like, so what are your thoughts on the weekend? So to be fair, like first of all, give us like an introduction on who you are, mate. Like feel free to just give us a bit of a rundown on like how you've gotten into bodybuilding and stuff, because I've known of you since you competed as like a junior, I think. When I remember when you competed against Jack Richardson. Like I remember that was like my first year of getting into natural bodybuilding. I remember you competing and thinking, "Fucking hell, yeah, he's pretty big."
Did you? Yeah. I followed your brother. Like back.
Reese is gone.
Oh, am I here?
I can hear him.
Yeah, Finn. I think it's you, mate.
Yeah, it might be. Sorry, go on.
Finn's dad's Wi-Fi. Come on, he needs to sort it out. Expensive Wi-Fi. I remember I followed your brother when he was bodybuilding, like back in the day. A guy at my gym used to share your brother's stuff constantly. Like it was like actually a little bit scary. I'm pretty sure that your bro put a restraining order on him or whatever. So I followed him, and it wasn't until I realised who you were when you competed at British Finals, UK IFBB last year. Put up a photo with him, and I was like, wait, I swear I recognise that dude. And it was like, it said following, and I was like, oh, he stopped training entirely. Like it's like, it was quite like not scary, but it was like, oh, he's gone for a different sort of life path, should we say. Yeah. And obviously he was enhanced. Well, I imagine he was enhanced because he was yeah. And then I saw you, because I remember seeing you at that show, because Finn obviously was competing at that show, and I remember seeing you hit like a front lat spread, and I literally was like, what the fuck is that? And I think I like said to someone, I was like, who the fuck's this guy? And they like showed me your Instagram page, and that's when I followed you. So that's my introduction to you, mate. That's that.
When was that? Only last year?
Yeah. I hadn't known of Mr. Casey.
Yeah. So I remember from years ago. But yeah. Anyway, mate, go ahead. Yeah. Give us an introduction into you.
First of all, thanks for getting my name right, because everyone gets my name wrong. Because everyone calls me Jack Kinsey-Clough, and it is Clough. Yeah. So thank you for getting that right, because I think you're like the only person that ever gets that right. But yeah. I'm obviously Jack. A lot of people call me KC just because it's easier than saying Kinsey-Clough. I guess I'm a natural classic physique competitor, PNBA pro. Should have been an IFBB pro on the weekend, but we'll get into that. But yeah, I've been competing for quite some time. My first show was 2018, I believe. It was either 2019 or 20. It was the British final with Jack. I always get these years mixed up. I think it was 19.
I think it was.
Was 19.
it 19? Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the BNBF British final, 2019. No, I come fourth. I come fourth that show. It was me, Jack, it was Keefe, and I can't remember who else. I can't remember what won. I don't know if Keefe won or who it was. So I've been competing quite for some time. I got into bodybuilding around 9 years ago, pretty much. I touched upon this on my story yesterday. I was a football player. I played football my whole life. I used to live in Spain. I'll try to make this short. I used to live in Spain. Go on.
No, so take your time. You don't have to make it short.
All right, yeah. It's a long story, man. Yeah, I used to live in Spain, played football my whole life. My family opened a gym at the time. I started training in the gym. I was forced to train in the gym. I'm not gonna lie. My dad wanted me to start training to put a bit of size on because I played centre back. I had a semi-professional contract that I was gonna move back to the UK to play here. So I had to put on a bit of size. Then some contract issues happened. I kept training for like a year without playing football, and I put on about 9 kilos, and I just blew up. And then from there, I slowly fell in love with bodybuilding and started like falling out of love with football. So it came to, until I moved back here about 7 years ago, I pretty much decided I just wanted to go into bodybuilding. I mean, my brother, like you said, my brother's obviously a competitive bodybuilder before me. He done his first show in 2016. I went to watch that, It was the UK BFF Welsh, when the UK BFF was the thing. I went to watch that show, and Luke Sando actually done that show. That was the show he'd done before he won his British title to turn pro. So I remember I went to watch that show. My dad was like, "Oh, there's some big guy doing like the super heavies or something," and it turned out to be Luke Sando, which was pretty crazy. And then I went to watch that show, and then after that, I was like, "Yeah, I want to give this a go." And initially, I wanted to do men's physique because I was like, men's physique, Ryan Terry, that's what I love. I want to go into that. So 2017, that's when my first prep was, 2017. I started working with a coach, James Llewellyn, who coached my brother at the time. I started prepping for a men's physique show, and then one day he randomly made me check in with it, he said, drop your trousers because your brother's got good legs. I need to see your legs. And he saw my legs and he went, "You're never doing a men's physique show." He said, "Your legs are your best body part." And I was like, all right. So we went for bodybuilding, and then obviously I went down and ended up doing a junior BMBF show. Won that. That was my first ever show, first ever like go at bodybuilding. And ever since that, I just fell in love with it. And it was a pretty good experience, but I won't lie, that was like probably the toughest prep I ever done in my life. I was doing 2.5 hours of cardio a day, 0 carbs, 0 fat, just annihilating myself to get shredded. And it wasn't fun, but it was fun at the same time because it sucked.
Yeah, you learn a lot from that though. Like we've said, we've done like stupid diets, but to be fair, like so didn't you have like a break from body?
Yeah, so that's what. Yeah, so obviously 2020, the whole world shut down and stuff, and I kept on training in my garden. And honestly, it was probably like the biggest and best I ever felt in my life at that time. And then gyms open, gyms closed, gyms open, gyms closed. And then in the end, I was like, you know what, I need to take a step back. So I took about 2 years off bodybuilding and started doing all this, CrossFit and all that stuff. And pretty much I went on a lad's holiday last year around March. And on the plane back, I was like, I'm going to do bodybuilding again. And I literally got home, I got a few things sorted, and I went straight into a prep. I prepped myself. And then I did a whole prep last year of just trying to find the love again. And luckily, after competing like just that first BMBF show last year, that kind of reignited everything. And obviously I was able to go into Classic, it kind of turned into a passion at some point. And that's when I thought, yeah, this is kind of where I want and need to be. And then all of last year happened where I ended up in Vegas in the Natural Olympia and things like that, which none of it was planned. It just kept on going. Like I didn't plan on doing a single show. I just literally started a prep. Like I started a prep for me. There was no expectations. There was no goals. There was nothing. It was just, I'm going to prep myself. I'm going to see what I can do and then just go from there. And then it ended up just planning out the way it did. And then I ended up in Vegas, which was pretty crazy.
So last year when you were competing, it was the same year that I competed. We did that UK FBA Southern show.
Yeah.
But before that, no, was it after that? The BMBF, I think it was the BMBF finals. You got beaten by Corey.
Yeah.
Remember when I was speaking to you and I was like,
yeah,
everybody didn't look right because I think a lot of it was the lighting, but also like everybody was being rushed and stuff.
Yeah.
Were you also just trashed at that point?
That show, honestly, I was ruined. Obviously, like I said, I prepped myself, and we've talked about this. It was a lot of like, obviously, once I started doing the shows, I wanted to do well in the shows, but I was doing the shows more of like just a learning curve. I just wanted to learn a lot about myself and what I was able to do and get away with and not do. For just for me, but also for my clients as well. Because I was like, I'm just going to use myself as a guinea pig, and in the end, I did get kind of lost in the whole, chasing condition and chasing lows and all these things. That by the time I got to the BMBF finals, I was just there was no saving me, kind of thing. I tried my best to get rid of as much fatigue as I possibly could, but I just rammed myself into the ground. To the point where I was lean, I got very lean, and in that show I looked just I looked fat, I looked flat, I looked everything. And obviously, like we said, the lighting and everything on that day and how the show was run didn't help. But I don't think that's the reason why I didn't do well.
Yeah, I think Corey was also just very good on that day. But like I think even when I like look at the photos of the show that when I compete against you, like you look good, but you don't look like 100%. You know what I mean? You're like,
no, absolutely not. Like, don't get me wrong, it was awesome to prep myself, and I feel like I've done a good job. But I just wanted to like kind of prove to myself that I could get lean as I possibly could on my own, and just commit to being like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm treating myself as a client. I'm not gonna back off. I'm not gonna just give it like myself an excuse to eat more food or whatever it was. But it kind of went the opposite way, and I would just kind of punish myself. You know, and you've done it. It's so easily done. Like there was days where I jump on the Stairmaster, like, and I'd be like, okay, I've got to do 30 minutes of cardio, and I'd be like 5 minutes in, I'd be like, I can't do it. So instead of doing like 30, I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna do 5 more minutes, and in the end, I planned on doing 30, and I would do like an hour. You know, and then I'd get off the cart and be like, look, you thought you couldn't do it. But now you've just done double what you're supposed to do. It's just a game, and it was so easily done just to drive yourself into the ground. And like, you know, like there would be evenings where I'd like train, I'd do my cardio, I've done my steps, and then I got a spin bike in my room, and I'd be like, I'll just jump on it for 20. That 20 turned into 40, and that 40 then become like a norm every night. I'd do 40 minutes of cardio for no reason in the night, you know. And then the steps, it was like, okay, well, I've done 15K. I want to go for a walk. I'm going to do another 3. And I ended up like, just before I started working with Tim, which we'll get into as well, like I was doing 27,000 steps a day, every day. And that was normal. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And I was doing like an hour and a half of cardio. And like my food was still relatively high, but I just wanted to see how much I could do.
5,000 calories.
Yeah. No, it was, I think I was around like 2.8, something like that, 2.7. But, you know, when you're doing that much output, as a natural athlete, it's nothing good's going to come.
Isn't it weird though? You forget. Like I remember there was like throughout my prep, I actually forgot that I was trying to be a bodybuilder.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like you forget that.
Yeah.
And your sole focus is on whether or not you're getting leaner or you're losing weight. You forget about being a bodybuilder.
Jack, was that your first prep coaching yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
Because like obviously Finn's first prep was with AJ, so I've done 2 preps on my own, and I definitely found like my second prep. My first prep was definitely off the like I just want to get fucking lean, whatever it takes. Well, my last one, I was actually like I feel like I was an okay coach. I was like, okay, I actually kind of know how when I'm battered, but I still make mistakes. But I feel like for Finn, for example, and for you, like your first prep as a you're prepping yourself. It's always a bit of a car crash when you look back. In the moment, you're in this like deluded prep bubble of I've got to do this. This makes sense. And you look back and it's like like the drunk guy at a party and like everyone's telling you you're like I'm not drunk. And like in a prep you're like I'm fine. You look back you're like what the fuck was I doing all that shit? It didn't make any sense.
To be fair, like I've got all my notes on a pad, right? And like at the beginning of the prep, when there was no shows, I was actually very good at pulling back. Yeah. That's the thing. Like I done before I got to I got to my first show and I was lean. I looked really good. I wasn't like peeled, but I looked very lean. And that show was literally just like I had 2 people, like 2 posing clients doing it. I was going to watch the show and I decided to jump into it. But as soon as you put the pressure of like competing in, and then you see people a little bit leaner than you think, okay, I need that. And then that's when I started making the wrong choices, I get. But up until then, like I was having like frequent refeeds. I was taking time off cardio. Everything was moving so smoothly. And then I started competing, and then I was like, okay, let me push a bit harder. And then like I done like the BMBF. I can't remember which the name of it. And then the following weekend, I done the PCA Wales just because it was local. And going into that PCA Wales, I pushed so hard that I come off stage. I won somehow. I won the class. I come off stage, and I was like, I look awful. And you're like, you haven't seen yourself. I was like, I know I look terrible. Yeah. I just know. Like I'm like how I feel like. Yeah, I was like I feel like shite. And then the next show was the UKDFBA, which I backed off a little bit for it, but not enough. And I looked okay, but I was like, yeah, I still look trashed.
Yeah, you still like. I feel like. I feel like we all look shit.
Yeah, we all just like. That's the thing. I feel like we all just started chasing like each other. And we're all just like, oh, he's getting leaner, I got to get leaner.
You ever being stood like in the? Do you remember like pumping up?
Yeah.
So, mate, I remember pumping up, and I knew it was me, you, and Aaron, and like I knew there was other lads in it, but like because I knew you and Aaron, I was like, right there, and like obviously I knew you were both better than me. Like in my head, I was like, I'm not gonna beat them, but then I was also like looking at him, and I was like, I am leaner than him though.
Yeah. I know.
It's like,
that's the thing, man. It's such like I remember talking to Aaron about this. He was like, I was just chasing you in condition. I was like, why? You were leaner than me. I was like, what were you chasing? And then, like, it's such a mind game, man. And like, you, especially with all the social media, you see people like in bodybuilding anyway. You always see the things that you don't have, or you want. And like for me, I'm like, I want shredded glutes. I want glutes like, but not like a bit lean. I want like, do you know when you see these people with extremely shredded glutes? I was like, that's what I want. I need that. But then if I get that or get anywhere near it, I sacrifice everything that's good about me, which is my structure and my shape. And it's not so much the conditioning, because as soon as I push for that, I lose everything else. You know, and that's what we noticed is as the season went on, I just got worse, as in like my structure and stuff just got worse and worse. I was lean, but how I looked just suffered so much because of it, because I was just constantly chasing scale weight. You know, even when I worked with Tim, like when I transitioned to working with Tim, it was a bit too far gone then. Like we done everything we could to like get rid of that fatigue and freshen me up, but still like I'd lost quite a bit of tissue by then. You know, I lost like what was like my strongest points, and it hurt me a little bit. But we still done a pretty good job with it.
Jack, what was your weight difference from like your first show last year, your last show last year, and then obviously we'll get into this year. But like, what was your weight for this year? Because
for the first BMBF show, I believe I was like 81 kilos. And like I said, I wasn't like stage peeled. I was lean. And then for the last show, I got down to 75.
Okay. And then what was your first show? What was your show this year, just for reference? Like, we'll get into this year soon.
What, the body weight?
Yeah.
First show, I was, on the day of the show, I was 79.2. And then I was 79.4 for the France show.
Okay, fair enough. Because I feel like, even though it was only 4 kilos, you were looking like 10 weeks out, you were fucking peeled. Like, you were close.
Yeah, I know, man.
You weren't stage peeled, but you were like close. You could have been 3 weeks out if it was 2 weeks of a hard dig.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people, that's why I think a lot of people assumed I was going to do an earlier show, and I was like, no, I'm not. And like, and I'm not going to lie, it took me a lot not to do an earlier show. I fully committed just to doing the 2, because I know myself, if I do an earlier show, I'm going to subconsciously start pushing a little bit harder for it, and then I'm going to run into the same issues as last year, where I'm like pushing harder when I don't need to be. Like, Tim's telling me to do 12,000 steps, I'm doing 14. Like, I don't need to be doing that, because we had like one goal, and it was just those 2 shows. So, but like, yeah, from like the 10-week out mark, I can remember thinking like, oh shit, I'm quite like far forward here. But I feel like because I got rid of a big chunk of that fat at the beginning, it kind of helped me, and I was able to just back off quite nicely towards the end. So like, if you look at like the first 10 weeks of prep, I got lean quick, but like the second half, I feel like that's where I just started like coming off very slowly, and I didn't lose a lot of like that actual tissue that I like sacrificed last year. Like, all my training performance was pretty good and stuff like that. So it was a lot easier this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I get that.
With so let's go back to last year. So when you started with Tim, it was after that BMBF, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was basically I met him at the BMBF randomly. We like a friend of mine, David, just started work with him like a week before. They were talking. David came up to me. I met Tim, and I was like, I don't know why I like this guy. He looks cool. I was like, I just get along with him, and then obviously done the BMBF, and after that I was like, I'm done. I don't want to keep on going. I'm pretty much set on just calling it a season there. Obviously I had the UK DFBA invite, and Amy was actually at that BMBF show. I don't know if you remember, and she was like, oh, just do it, just do the show, and she pretty much convinced my parents to convince me to do the show. Which, you know, hats off to her, because obviously that kind of, well, thanks to her, I kind of went on to do everything else. But yeah, so I was like, okay, if I'm going to do it, I don't think I can do it on my own, because I think I'm just going to make the same mistakes. And I was like, I need to reach out to someone. And for whatever reason, I was like, Tim, fuck it, I'm going with you. And I didn't see any of his previous work. I didn't know who he was. I was just like, I'm taking a gamble. There was a lot of other people. I was like, oh, maybe him. But I was like, nah, I'm just gonna take a gamble. I've taken gambles in my life before, and they've worked out pretty well. So I was like, look, I'm gonna take one more, see what happens. And like Tim said, it was the best thing I ever done.
Can I interject just to make a lot of other coaches like extremely jealous? But who were they? AJ? Anyone else? Like,
no, to be fair, no, it actually wasn't because, and it wasn't like not the typicals, but like, I didn't want to work with anyone that everyone worked with, if that makes sense. I just wanted to take a gamble, man. I was like, look, I don't know who I want to work with. There wasn't anyone like that came straight to my mind. Like I thought about asking just a few friends. Like I don't know if you know Ginger Josh. Like I thought, I might just run things by him. I had MJ, Mark. I was talking to him throughout the prep as well, and I thought maybe I'll just tell him to take over the rest of the actual prep. I did think of you, Finn. I'm not gonna lie, but then I thought you're still competing.
I was so fucked, mate. Good decision not to go with me at that point.
Honestly, because obviously you had like Jack, and you had Josh in the shows, and I was like, you're at the shows. I was like, maybe. But then I remember seeing you on Instagram, and you were fucked, and I was like,
you look so shit.
I was like, this might be a bad choice.
Honestly, at that point, like, don't get me wrong, if anything, I don't think my coaching sacrificed at all.
No.
I think because I was so focused on that, I massively sacrificed. But like I can see why that would not have been appealing when I saw you at a show, and I'd be like, hey, mate.
No, but honestly, I don't know why. It was just like Tim. For some reason, I always say that everything happens for a reason, and whatever reason, like I bumped into him at that show. We got in contact, we talked to each other, and then out of the blue, I was like, I'm just gonna go for it, and I just ended up working with Tim.
So what did you do? Because obviously you were pretty trashed. Like straight away, were you like? I imagine Tim was like, right, mate, you're not doing 27,000 steps. You're doing this, you're doing that, and you were a bit like, oh, I don't know. Or were you just like, yeah, tell me what to do?
No, I pretty much said like, funny enough, he brought this up the other day. He was like, can you remember when I had to go back to the room in Greece to set up some like curly headed fuck or something like that? And it was about me because they were like him and his missus were talking about he's always working on a holiday or something.
Yeah.
But when I sent him the message on Instagram, he was in Greece and he was out for food and he went back to his room to set me up, and I was like, oh, fair enough. But yeah, he basically just pulled the expenditure back completely. I ended up doing like 10,000 steps a day. No cardio. He gave me a bit more food, or he dropped food a little bit, but he basically just freshened me up. And within like 4 days, I think I dropped like 3 kilos, and I just looked better and better. But this was literally 6 days out from the UKDFBA, so it was a case of like just freshen me up as much as we can, fat load me for 2 days, and then just carb me up and see what happens. And it considering we only had 6 days working together, it was pretty surreal. What
you get that, like, crazy super compensation though. Like, do you remember Reese when after the A1, I was so trashed. I went out for a Nando's, and I didn't like go crazy. I had like a normal Nando's.
Yeah.
Didn't do cardio for a few days. Chilled out a little bit, and I looked the best I ever had.
And you also ate like 4,000 calories for 5 days, but like that was
it wasn't. Yeah, but it wasn't like
double.
I don't think
it was 3.5.
It was a decent amount. Yeah. But it wasn't like crazy. It wasn't like, oh, I'm having this and that. It was like, I'm just having more of my normal food. I felt incredible. Like, training was amazing just because I was so depleted and so
every night, Finn.
I did have a donut every night.
I'm eating the same as usual. Were you eating donut every day, bro? No, you weren't.
No, but that was you told me to have that. It was in my plan.
Yeah. I coached him for a week. So, mate, you should have stayed with me. You look your best you ever did.
I know, it felt good.
Honestly, just that feeling of like, just not being absolutely battered, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I remember how good I felt now then.
Yeah. But you didn't. Like I find that's life. So life is so strange. Like
because you've come up from such a low. Like
yeah, definitely.
I feel like with me, it was like I was so like used to just chasing that. When he told me to pull back, like you said, did I say, oh, I don't know? Like, I was like, okay, if I'm doing this, I'm like fully committed to letting him like tell me what to do. But I won't lie, the first day I was like, surely this is not the right move. Even though I knew I needed to freshen up, I was like, I don't know, it's quite a lot. We're pulling back quite a lot here. But that was just the part of my brain that was like, no, we got to keep pushing, And as soon as we pulled back for like 2 days, I was like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I could see I look better already. Just tell me what to do. And that's exactly like going into that British, like, and the other difference was like after about, I think it was like the second carb up, no, the first carb up day, I woke up the next morning and looked at myself, and it was the first time I looked at myself in a while and thought, okay, I look good. And then that's when like all like the stress had gone. I'd be like, okay, I made the right choice. Whatever happens now happens. I'm good. Like I know I'm gonna look better like on this stage tomorrow compared to the last 2 or 3 shows, and I'd be happy with that. I kind of just needed that redemption from like the BNBF, and I feel like as soon as I saw myself the day before the UK FBA, I kind of knew I had that already. So I just went into that show like as chill as I possibly could be.
Pretty cool, because I feel like Tim now has established himself as a really good coach.
Yeah.
But before he coached like you and Jack Hattersley,
yeah,
like you say, you didn't even know who he was.
I mean, I had no idea.
A lot of people didn't. And like I've known Tim for years. Like me and Tim trained together like when we were quite young.
Yeah.
And like
it was Jay Freaky Boys.
Yeah, Jay Freaky.
And Jay Freaky, yeah.
Jay Freaky won.
To be fair, he had a pretty good trio there. To be fair.
Yeah. But like. Well, even Tim, like what, a year or so before, stopped bodybuilding.
Yeah,
and, I mean, it's like it's crazy how things can turn around. Whereas like now, people will look at Tim and think, oh yeah, he's a really well established coach and he is really good, like and 100%. But like only a couple of years ago, he fell out of love with it. And it's like if he hadn't have maybe seen you on that day, would he have had that same success? Like it's pretty cool. So
I feel like he. Obviously, he's an amazing coach, and I feel like the good thing with Tim is like he's very relatable. Like for me, at least, I can only speak from my person, but like because we both kind of took our breaks from bodybuilding and stuff like that. Yeah. I feel like that's what because we talked about this like last year after he'd already coached me for a few weeks or months, and I was like, okay, there's a lot of like he can understand that. I'm not just like I'm not one of these hardcore 100% all the time bodybuilders. And even in like, in a prep, like I'm pretty chilled about everything I do. I'm not like I have to tick I tick my boxes, but I'm not like super anal and regimented about everything and like extreme routines and stuff. Like I'm not that like into it. And he could see that and he treated me that way. So it wasn't like you have to do everything like as I say to a T. And he just let me kind of do my thing, but then he would be the coach when he needed to be the coach and just be the friend when he needed to be the friend. And like that's why going into this year, things worked so like well and easily because we just understood each other from the get-go,
I feel like most people are kind of like that now. Like the 100% hardcore, like we almost take the piss out of it, and like we are that to an extent, but not over the line how some people are. You know what I mean? Like where it's like we literally said, me and Jack were speaking before you came on the podcast, Reese. Like I literally said how like what happened at the weekend. It's not the end of the world, is it? It's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like whereas some people are like, it's the biggest thing ever. Like, it's not. Like it's a shame and it's a bit shit, but like it's not the end of the world. Like it's just part of the journey. It's pretty cool because you'll come back and you'll do it again in another year or whatever. Like we'll come on to all that, but like it's pretty like funny how serious some people take it. It's amateur bodybuilding, even if it's professional natural bodybuilding. It's still not life or death. It's not like career making kind of money. Like it's just something that we enjoy doing.
That's probably how it's kind of shifted over the last few years, which is actually I think quite a nice thing, because when I was getting into it, and Jack, you've been into it longer than me and Finn have, back in the day it was like the AJ Morris videos with him in Cuba training, screaming at the top of their lungs, and like it's fucking cool to see, and like we've all trained like that, and I train like that at times, but if you don't have a result doesn't go your way, it's not the end of the world. It's like life goes on. And I feel like when you're going into it, you almost have this mindset of like everyone's first show, it's like I need to win it. And then everyone's second show, I need to win it. And then you get into it and you're like, you win some, you lose some, and like you still wake up the following day. And when you win a show, like it doesn't fucking make a difference. You don't walk into the gym, and I say this all the time, with a pro card, you don't walk in with a halo above your head. You're like on Call of Duty, that's like Prestige Master or whatever. It doesn't say that sort in real life. Like if you're a pro or not, if you're a bell end, you're a bell end. If you sound, you sound. And like life goes on. And I think again, it's one of those sort of things where the more chilled out, I think also as well, it probably results in you being who you are and probably being able to continue to prep year on year, get better. Because if you were like all or nothing, if a result doesn't go your way, you look worse. It's gonna be like, let's say for example now, if you were so all in, you'd be 40 pounds up because you've probably ate yourself into a fucking coma. Like, I feel sorry for myself. I feel shit. Yeah, exactly. And then you'd be questioning if bodybuilding's for you, all this sort of stuff. When in reality, a result didn't go your way. Is what it is. Life goes on.
Man, like I said this, like I said, we said it just off air. Like, I was very much at peace, and I always am. Just going into shows knowing, like, I've done everything, I'm good. Like, if I couldn't do anything better. If someone beats me, and this is gonna sound cocky, but if someone beats me, I know they're good. Very as simple as that, you know, because when you're good and someone else beats you, you know they must be good. So it's like, look, they're going to the top. You're going there with them. It's okay. So I'm okay with someone beating me or not winning, but it like I feel like you said about like doing your first show, you have to win. That's where like there are these shows where you lose them and you realize no one actually cares. Yeah. And then they're the best shows. Like I said, like last year, that BMBF, when I lost that, I come off stage. It was the first show I lost all season. I was like, oh no, how do I tell people I've lost? What do I do? What's next? And then from that came me realizing no one actually cares, me meeting Tim, me becoming a better bodybuilder this year. And then all these things happened from it, you know? So just like this loss on the weekend, which, again, it's not a loss. I just didn't win the overall because I still won my class, you know? I'm like, yeah, at the time, it fucking hurt, and it still hurts now, and it's shite. But there's going to be something good that comes from it, and there's already good stuff coming from it. So I'm okay with it, you know? And like I said about like emotionally eating, like I might have had an extra donut on Monday, but I was like, I'm good, you know? I did have a donut. I was like, okay, I'm having one more because I deserve it. But nah, man, it's like, I'm not like, I love bodybuilding, right? It's amazing. It's the best thing ever, but I'm not obsessed by it. And I feel like that's where there's, especially in British bodybuilding now, it is, you know, and it's the way we've been like, especially over the last few years, it's like the way we've been brought up, I guess. It's like all or nothing. Yeah. You can't miss, all that stuff, you know? It's like, you can miss, it's okay. I took 2 years off. I came back and I'd done all the shit I'd done. It's okay. We're all good. You know, we all train hard. Like, British bodybuilding is amazing. Like, you go to a show, an international show, you can tell who the British people are. They're lean, they're big, they're dense. Like, you can tell, like, we are good bodybuilders. We don't have to be so, like, just...
It is the GP culture.
Yeah, like, it is, you know?
Like, I think there's loads of pros to it. Like, so many in terms of, like you say, like, most people, like, even, like, coaches over here are, like, it's kind of known as being, like, you know, one of the best sort of countries for bodybuilding, for coaching. People in other European countries look up to the UK and like, oh, I want to go there for the gyms and stuff like that. So there's, like, loads of positives to it. But I do also think, like you say, like the can't miss thing, like we implement that kind of mentality towards our clients. But also, like, if they do miss, we don't go, what the fuck are you doing? You're a fucking idiot. We'll
You're
talk
not their dad.
Like, okay, right. Like, let's discuss what's happened there. Yeah. We're not going to tell them off. Or like, you know, if a client bottles a set, you know, like we'll discuss like, right, okay, why is that happening? What can we do? Like, because if you're bottling a set, there's obviously something, like, realistically, there's an issue there in terms of either, you know, it's something that you're not enjoying, or you've got pain or an injury or whatever. Like, nobody really, if you like bodybuilding, nobody intentionally is just going to train suboptimally.
Yeah.
They're not going to push themselves, or they're going to just, like, half-arse it. Nobody's going to do that. So, like, yeah, I like that mentality, don't get me wrong, but I don't like the community that it's built in terms of how, like, over the top it can be. Yeah.
I think that's what it is, man. It's like, it's over the top, it's overcomplicated, it's overanalyzed. It's like, I'm sure we've all been there. Like, going back, like, again, like 2 years, I remember being in the gym and training and doing my actual, like, split. And as I'm doing it, I'm analyzing it, thinking, this can be better. This can be more efficient. This can be better. And you just get lost. You're training, but you're trying to improve what you're doing before you've even done it. And then you change the split. You're like, okay, now this is better. Like exercise order is much better. Execution is superb, great. And then you do it, and then you go back the next week and be like, actually, no, I think this might be better. And I'd be changing things constantly. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is not what I fell in love with. Like, this is not bodybuilding to me. You know, I don't know who you like used to watch like growing up, but like, I don't know if you know like the CT Fletchers and all these people. Like, I used to watch Mike O'Hearn, natty or not, man, doing like all sets of 20, like German volume training, 10 sets of 10. I used to train like that. I used to have so much fun. Do you know what I mean? And like, it's brought me a somewhat okay physique. So we don't have to be so like just locked in on this, like, you can't miss the top set back off. If you miss a lift, you have to change everything. You might just have a shit night's sleep, or that day you just weren't feeling it. It's okay, you know?
With that, obviously post show, I saw you put a story on where you just like went in, didn't track anything, like just went in, got, like supersets, got a bit of a pump. Like,
yeah.
Is that your plan for now? Just literally like take the sort of restraints off and just go and enjoy training for the next few weeks. Just don't get injured.
It's gonna be like, honestly, like usually I take like a week off after a show, and if I do train, it is that way. It's literally just whatever I fancy. Like it is just fun. Whatever I consider fun, I'll do. Like movements I haven't done for like a few weeks or months or whatever. So what I'm gonna do this week, I'm just gonna have a bit of fun. Like I trained yesterday, I'm gonna train tomorrow. I trained Saturday, and it is just gonna be like move a bit of blood around, get a pump, supersets if I want to do them. And then as of next week, then it'll pretty much be straight back on plan, because like obviously we'll discuss that, like the next steps and stuff, but I like to just not chill out, but just take a little bit of a step back after a prep, you know. And that doesn't mean like go and eat everything. Like I'm still on plan, but not, like I said, the things that I might not enjoy so much, I'll just take a bit of a step back from them. And then just enjoy the things I do enjoy, like the training, but without the logbook, you know, thinking if I drop a rep here, it's not the end of the world, because I'm no longer like chasing the logbook for this week. I'm just going to like change like maybe my diet a little bit, implement like different foods, like not weigh veg. That's one of the best parts about post-show, like not needing to weigh veg and fruit and stuff. So yeah, I just relax a little bit, just become a bit more like normal, I guess. I'm training, yeah. It's just literally whatever I fancy doing.
Yeah. Can we, Finn? Are we allowed now to actually talk about this year? Is that?
Yeah, I think we've kind of got to that point. If anyone who's been waiting, we're getting to it.
In the comments, timestamp. He starts speaking about him getting robbed at this point. 37-31.
37-31.
Yeah.
37-37. If you're interested, guys, put a comment. Jack? Pick something that people have to comment, because we did this the other day. We got loads of comments.
Yeah. What's a word? Robbed? Maybe.
Yeah.
Either robbed or controversy.
Jack,
one of those, something like that.
You spoke about Mike O'Hearn being like one of your idols. Mate, you got beat by Mike O'Hearn, didn't you? This like guy who failed a polygraph test or something. Yeah. You know.
We go straight into it, yeah.
No. So okay, let's actually go a little bit back, guys. Wait, I'm sorry, listeners. We don't really need to speak too much about the prep, but goals going in. You had those two shows as your main sort of stuff. When did you start? Give us a bit of an intro, but let's be brief, because we all, even me and Finn, want to get there. We all want to get there.
I will make it brief.
So
pretty much. Obviously, stepped off stage last year. Done the Natural Olympia. Took quite some time off. Like I didn't plan on competing this year, right? That's straight away. Mm-hmm. But I remember chatting to Tim when he was in Lille last year. He was in Lille because the show they done this year, they done it in Lille last year. And he was like, you should have done this show. You would have won, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, maybe next year. And that was just a joke. It was literally like, I was like, no idea. I'm not doing that. Fast forward a few months. And then it was about April time. And Mrs. decided to do a prep. I was like, if she's doing a prep, I'm doing a prep. Simple as that. So I got in contact with Tim. I was like, look, what do you think? Should we try it? And he was like, send me photos. And I was like, I'm actually going to be in the shed this day. Do you want to come see me? So he come and saw me in the shed. He said, okay, you look massive. Let's do it. So we decided to start a prep. That was May 20th, if I'm not mistaken, which was 28 weeks out from the French show just gone. So we gave me 28 weeks to get pretty lean. And as you see, I got lean pretty quick. which we didn't think at all because I was pretty chubby starting the prep. I'm not gonna lie, I was probably a lot fatter than I needed to be, but I started my prep at like 98 kilos. So yeah, fast forward the entire prep. We pretty much said we're going to do those 2 shows. Like we're going for a pro card. Because pretty much the idea behind it was I wanted to go assisted after last year. That was the plan. Like after last year, I wanted to go assisted. I was like I don't really want to continue to compete in natural bodybuilding. I want to go assisted. But Tim said to me, which it makes complete sense. He's like, look, you're at kind of like the top of when it comes to like natural classic physique competitors. You have an opportunity of getting a pro card naturally. And then once you got that pro card, we can go assisted and then build a pro physique and then compete as a pro. Which to me at the time I was like, I'm not sure, but then eventually it made sense. So it was either go assisted last year and then spend like this year chasing a pro card or next year chasing a pro card, or it was do one more prep naturally, ideally get a pro card naturally, and then use that rebound to start a cycle, my first ever cycle, and then start to build a pro physique. So that's kind of that's what the goal was. Obviously, it hasn't planned out that way because I don't have a pro card, but the next steps are pretty much the same either way.
So what have you jumped on?
Not yet, no. But my bloods are being done next week,
Ooh.
and then that's where I'm going from there. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I quite like that you've like committed to something and you're like, I'm doing it anyway. Because I think
I think that's what I needed. It was like, look, because again, it is bodybuilding, it's out of our hands, right? Like if I got the card or not, I'm committed to it, and that's all I needed, and I just needed to know that. So yeah, that's going to be the next steps, but the goal was always that, just to do these 2 shows. Hence why I didn't want to do any earlier shows. Like I had no intentions of doing like, you know, like the Natural Olympia again. I the universe. There was, you know, they asked me to do the Denmark show. All these people, like they were like, come and do this, come and do that. But I was fully committed on those 2 shows, and I'm actually proud of myself for actually doing them because I was very tempted to do a lot of shows, especially when I was going to shows and watching them and seeing that I was pretty lean already. I was like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. But eventually we just set on those 2, and yeah, we fully committed and actually done them.
Are you glad that you did that in regards to like the actual experience on the day? Because obviously like the 2 bros at the Braywick Leisure Centre, like it's renowned for not being amazing. And yeah, obviously I don't know what it was like. I don't know what it was like in France, but like for example, if you'd have done that Denmark show, like that was really cool.
Yeah.
So like, are you glad that you? Because obviously for the look, 100%, like you did the right thing.
Yeah.
I learned that last year as well. Like, you know, you don't want to be really doing multiple shows. Even this year with clients, like, you know, usually the best look is, especially if you're like trying to time it well, is probably that maybe first or second show.
Yeah.
Because if then they qualify for this, and oh yeah, I'm going to do that, and then before you know it, you're 6 weeks down the line, and it's like, well, we peaked for these main shows here, and now it's like, it's hard to keep that look. But how you did it was obviously you didn't peak for those early shows, you just waited, which was like worked really well. And obviously time frame wise, if you didn't start till 20th of May, that works quite nicely. But are you glad that you did that, like based on like?
Honestly, yes. Like judging on the look, yes. I'm not going to be like, oh, I could have done an earlier show. Like I could have, but I wouldn't have been 100%, and I don't think I would have wanted to do the shows if I wasn't 100%. And we did discuss about potentially pushing it a little bit harder to do like the Denmark show. But I said to Tim, I said, look, if there's any chance that sacrifices the look later on, I don't want to do it. Because not only that, like, what I didn't want to do is jump into these shows and knowing there's an expectation and pressure on me anyway. Going, you know, when people see you checking shots in it, they're like, oh, you look good, you look good, you look good. If I jump into a show and I'm not 100% and then I get beat, like my stock per se drops quite a lot, right? So I didn't really need that pressure on me to perform well, knowing I'm not 100%. Because like that Denmark show would have been like 7 weeks before my first show, or 6 weeks. Same as the universe. And I just didn't want to push for that show, and it potentially hurt me. But I also didn't want to jump into that show knowing I was still like 7 weeks out or 9 weeks out from the France show, especially knowing again like the people I was going to go up against. You know, because if I'm going to stand next to them, I want to stand next to them when I'm at either my best or close to my best, not 9 weeks out.
Yeah. So, in France, who was in your class?
Finn, we skipped past the overall win. Come on, let Jack talk about his overall win in the UK before.
Oh well, yeah, I done So I done the Braywick show, and in terms of like how it was run and stuff. Yeah, they're not the best shows I've ever done, but I feel like that you kind of you're going for one reason. I don't think you're not too bothered about what kind like how the show is ran, because you're there for one reason, if that makes sense. I feel like some people do shows because yes, you want to like do well and you might be able to win, etc., win a pro card, whatever it may be. But a lot of people do shows now because of actual production, you know. And I wasn't really going to do these two bro shows just for the production. Like there's plenty of other shows I would have chose, so I'm not too like fussed on that. Although seeing like I watched the Austria show, and that looked incredible. Like I'm not gonna like that's something I looked at and I thought I would have loved to do that, but it just didn't work time wise. So.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry. The two bros, obviously you won the overall there.
Yeah.
Like, the main challenger was probably, well, it was Anthony, wasn't it? Anthony.
Yeah. So in the overall it was me, Anthony, and two others. I'm forgetting the names now. But Anthony was like the biggest challenge. But he done multiple shows this season. I think he done multiple classes as well.
Yeah,
and he just kept looking better, which is hats off to them because he looked phenomenal. But I definitely think he looked better in France than he did at that qualifier.
Yeah.
And he looked incredible in France as well. So he just kept on getting better, which again, hats off to him. So the overall there, it was me, Anthony, and two others. But I guess they just preferred my kind of look. Because that's the thing with classic, and it's like, how do you compare me and Anthony? It is a bit. That's kind of apples and oranges.
Yeah, I think as well. Like, I feel like Anthony probably. Well, I didn't see him in France, but at the WMBF when he won, he was really, really good.
Yeah,
he was like, that was probably the sharpest and like the driest that he'd been. That was a while ago still. You know what I mean? That was still a good few weeks before. Obviously, then I saw him again at the qualifier that you did, and he did look a little bit more tired.
Yeah,
understandable. Like even his posing and stuff, like he just looked a bit tired. Which again, that is not taking anything away from him or Zach. Like I'm not surprised he looked fucking tired.
Yeah,
like, obviously,
it's inevitable.
Yeah, he still looked good.
Oh yeah,
wrong, but like you could just tell he wasn't as good as he was at the WMBF. But then obviously, like you said, if he looked better at France, like that's fucking impressive to be able to do that over such a long season. Yeah. So yeah, obviously you won that, then went to France. It was 2 weeks later, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks later. Yeah.
So what did you do in between? You just like held and then peaked again?
Yeah, so we obviously like before the qualifier we pulled out cardio like I think it was about a week before. So obviously going into France I wasn't doing any more cardio. My steps were between 8,000 and 10,000 a day, depending on the day really. We bumped my food up a little bit, not like drastically because after the carb up for that show, I held fullness pretty like I hold fullness easily anyway. So like after the carb up for the Braywick show, I held fullness pretty nicely. So we didn't really have to bump my food up too much. But it was just a matter of keeping me fresh. That like I dropped I think I hit a low or close to a low, but I've pretty much around the same body weight for like the full 2 weeks. And it was just a case of keeping me fresh. And then with the exact same, pretty much the exact same peak going into the show. The only difference is we actually had quite a lot less food for the France show than we did for the previous show.
Is that because you were just fuller going into the second peak?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I was a little bit fuller coming from that first show, but I think I was just a little bit fresher as well. I feel like even though I was pretty fresh at the first show, it just took that little bit extra food to fill me up. Yeah. Which again, we were surprised by how much food I needed because I'm not someone that usually needs that much food to fill out. But I think going into France, I was just a little bit fresher overall. I was holding a little bit more fullness. My digestion was better. Everything just felt better, and I feel like I just like sucked up the food a little bit better. So we didn't have to push the food as much. We pretty much just done 700 carb for 3 days on the bounce. Whereas for the first show, I think in total we done like 2,900 carb over 3 days, which is for me is like unheard of.
Quite common though at times when you think the first show you were coming down, so you've got to get yourself out of the hole,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you then have to peak. So it's like that first maybe 1,000 carb is literally just shifting fatigue, where you're riding off the highs of I've won an overall. You've obviously done that, and then you probably by the time that you actually go back into that hole, you've only gone a couple of inches down when you would have been a lot lower. So usually that sort of second show, you don't need to fill up as hard, and also you know where you were. Like you knew, okay, this is the visual that I like. So you almost just want to find that again. You know, where in that first sort of peak, like as much obviously I know Tim worked with you for your last few shows last year, it was probably okay, I haven't really gone from like first show peaking. So it was like almost finding that visual and saying, right, this is where you look your best, this is where you don't. And it's one of those sort of things. So it kind of makes sense. I get that.
Yeah. But yeah, it worked pretty well. Like I was a bit, obviously, like I said, I was slightly heavier for the France show, but I definitely think I was slightly sharper as well. Even if it was like it's like 1 or 2% like less body fat, I think there was a little bit less fatigue again. So it was definitely my better look, the France show, which we knew it was going to be anyway. But you know, we're talking like 3-4% if that. But it was definitely a better look.
Yeah. You answered literally what I said. I was about to ask. I was like, "What was your better look?" And then you jumped in. Like,
I think the France show was the better look, but I looked better in Braywick because the lighting and the stage and stuff were just better.
Yeah, to be fair, mate, you did look really fucking good at that show. Like, even if you hadn't have peaked, you were gonna look good. You know what I mean? Like, because you were still like pretty fresh and you've got a good physique. You were never going to look shit, but like, yeah, you did look really, really good at that show. So for you to say you were better at France is pretty fucking cool. So your class in France, was it just you and two other guys? Was one Jack as well?
No, there was 7. It was 7 in the class. It was me and obviously I'm not sure who the other people were. It was me and Jack and then 5 others. Jack's the only person I knew in my class. Initially, I think that it was meant to be like he was meant to be in D or something, but I think he got moved into C with me. But yeah, it was me, Jack, and then 5 others. But there's pretty much people from all around the world, which was cool.
Yeah. And how was the standard of your class?
It was good. I don't know if you saw any of the photos. Our class, it was the class that done the most comparisons. Like I think. We done like 5 or 6 rounds, but the classes before us, they were doing 1 or 2 max. Yeah. So and then they made we done like I think it was about 3 rounds of comparisons as like the full group, and then pretty brutally, to be fair, the 4 people that weren't me, Jack, and this other guy, they were like, hey, you can all go backstage, you're done, and we were like, what?
That's what I saw on your post. It was just you, Jack, and one of the guy. That's why.
So it was us 3, and they just moved us around in the middle, and all 3 of us.
Looked good. Like obviously you and Jack looked good anyway, but the guy I didn't know. Like
I wasn't sure he was, but then he stripped off backstage, and he's one of those people that you look at and you'd think, shit.
Yeah, he was.
You know, he was like, I know it sounds stupid, but his tan was perfect as well, and he just like sat perfect on his skin. But he was peeled, he was big, he like older. He was definitely older. But you could tell, like, just pure like density that he's been training for quite some time.
Yeah,
you know. But he did look really good. Jack looked good. It was a very good class, and I think it was nice to stand on stage with Jack. So obviously, Zach was there as well. So it was like Zach and Tim were watching. They were sat next to each other, and it was me and Jack on stage. Yeah. And I thought that was kind of cool. Just to end up in France, they were competing against each other. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So obviously you won that, and then you went into the overall.
Yeah.
So
here we go.
How many were in the overall? Was there 4? There was 4.
It was 4, yeah. So it was me, Anthony, the winner, and the winner of the tall class, which I'm not sure what his name was. But he was tall. He's a big guy. Big guy. He was a big guy.
The tall guy.
Again, he was one of those people that you see backstage, you think, oh, please don't be in my class. Yeah. You know? You could just tell he was just a unit.
So talk us through it. Like going into it, did you think you were going to win, or did you think, I don't know, this guy looks
boring, mate. Let's actually get into it. Did the guy who beat you, like, we don't need to be thinking about going in and winning. Did the guy that beat you, he'd already won his pro card? So were you?
So So the guy that beat me, he done bodybuilding. He done bodybuilding first. So he won his class obviously and won the overall in bodybuilding, which won him a pro card. incredible physique, like incredible. Like he's one of those people you see backstage and you think that's a great bodybuilder, you know?
Yeah.
And then I remember seeing that he was down for classic as well. And then obviously I wasn't sure. I'm not sure of the rules or how it works. Like if you win a pro card, are you a pro? Do you have to cash it in? Is it like kind of money in the bank kind of, you know? I don't know how it works, but yeah. So yeah, but he decided to do classic as well. He obviously won his class, and then went into the overall. So I'm not sure how it works, right? Because like I remember last year when I won my PMBA pro card, like I wasn't a pro until I activated it.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if it's the same concept, then he's not a pro, and I know he's getting a lot of backlash for that. For like, oh, you're a pro now, but like I get that, but if he was, imagine a classic physique was on first, then he wouldn't have been a pro, so he would have been able to compete against me, if that makes sense. So I like when people are like, oh, he was a pro, he shouldn't have done it. Like, yeah, but he was an amateur 10 seconds ago, so it doesn't really change anything for me.
And Finn, I'll just jump in. And most people would know, but for the very few that don't, who have got to this point, basically Jack got beat by a guy who'd already previously won a pro card moments before, and as a result, that's like what he's talking about. Because obviously we didn't really explain that. Obviously I kind of said it, but just so people know, if anyone doesn't, I imagine most would, but obviously he's a pro technically by 5 minutes ago, but it's so vague because it is allowed. There was a woman who I think at the Two Bros British Finals that did the same, and she won it. She won a pro card in 2 classes, and obviously I think a lot of it more so not really about the rules because they are allowed to do it, which I think a lot of people somewhat think it's a bit silly, but I think it's more so from like the morale sort of standpoint because Jack, I don't know, I'm giving you the opportunity to play the White Knight and the hero. If you had won a pro card in a different class, would you have gone and took a pro card away from somebody? You probably wouldn't, I imagine. You know?
No.
But this,
I wouldn't. Just because I feel like I'd be so over the moon with it. I'd just be like, yeah, I'm done. Why would I want to compete again? I'm good. I'm gonna go have food. I'm gonna celebrate. Yeah. But look, I'm gonna give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna try to always see the silver lining. If he's allowed to compete again, if he's won his pro card but he's allowed to compete again, then there's nothing against it. If he steps into classic and then he beats everyone because the judges believe he's a better classic bodybuilder, then so be it. It's if he's not done anything wrong, then I don't believe he should get the backlash that he got, if that makes sense. Taking a pro card away from whoever else is in that class. Like, if you're good enough to beat everyone else in the class, then they don't deserve a pro card, theoretically, right?
I don't think the guy should be getting any shit.
No, not at all. I feel like that's one thing that...
it should be the federation, because it's not right. But the guy himself, it's not his fault. He can do... I would literally be like, yeah, mate, I don't blame you for doing that at all. He shouldn't have to step off stage and go, oh, it's not really fair if I do this and maybe win. He's not thinking that.
No.
And he shouldn't have to. It's the federation that should be going, well, actually, wait a second. He's just won a pro card.
Yeah.
What if he's better than everyone and wins this? That'll look weird. He'll be walking home with 2 pro cards. That makes no sense. You can't win 2 pro cards. That just looks... He's got a photo on his Instagram, take it with 2... That just looks fucking weird. You know what I mean? Again, that's nothing against him. That's just not right. It should be this elusive thing that's amazing. Oh, I can win a pro card. Oh, I just got 2 in one day.
Yeah.
That's just... doesn't make sense. So... it's not his fault at all. This podcast is not being harsh to that guy in any way. He can do what the fuck he wants. However, talking about a different part, he failed a drug test for the WMBF, I believe.
A polygraph.
Do you know any more on this?
I don't. Honestly, that was news to me because again, it got posted on social media that he won the double pro card, and then it was going there was controversy there. And then there was controversy of people saying but if he's a bodybuilder, how can he be classic? How can he win both? Shouldn't he fit in one criteria more than the other? And then there was people saying they saw the photos comparisons and they're like, how is he beat well, not just me, but everyone else? And this is opinions, and no one have a go at me because I've got my opinions of what I thought should have happened, but this is what other people say. And then there was the backlash of, oh, but he's also failed the drug test in this. So there was all this controversy going on, and it wasn't just one thing. It wasn't just, oh, he's won 2 pro cards. It was like the pro card. It was, how can he fit 2 criteria? How is he beat these people? And then it was the WMBF thing, but I don't know too much about, and I wasn't really interested in, because there are these rules with the NPC, like 3 years natural and all this. Again, more controversy now that, what does natural bodybuilding mean? Is it 7 years, 3 years without gear, or is it lifetime natural? But it got so much, and I'm just one of those people that I don't like that kind of drama, so I just took a step back and I was like, you can all fight, I'm good.
That's nice to hear. And then about opinions about how it went, let's go for it. Finn, we'll go through it. I personally think, Jack, that I think a lot of people share the same opinion. I think in bodybuilding he beat you quite convincingly. I think as a bodybuilder he was fantastic. As a classic bodybuilder, I struggled, again, we weren't there, I struggled to see how, personally, based off a lot of the shots I've seen. Finn, what would you say? Would you agree with that?
I haven't seen enough. Like, you're saying he's a great bodybuilder. I honestly haven't seen a lot.
Just a few. I saw.
Yeah, he looked good. He was lean. He had really good shape. Like, his bodybuilding structure was good, but he didn't have classic shape. Like, he didn't look as though he posed well, but I don't think he posed as classic as you, or he could maybe. And yeah, he definitely didn't look right in the classic overall. He just looked like a bodybuilder in classic. He had a blockier waist than all you guys, and that's nothing against him. That's his structure. But he still had good shape. Like, he still looked fucking big. Like, he did look good. But I haven't properly analysed it. But yeah, like, looking at it, it was like, what? Like, and again, I haven't watched it enough. But especially, like, based on, and I guess, like, obviously, Tim's going to obviously have a bias, which is completely normal.
Of course, yeah.
But, like, based on what Tim said, he's like, how's that happened? Like, the issue isn't that the guy's won 2 pro cards. The issue is he shouldn't have even fucking won the class anyway. Like, which I completely get, and I'd be fuming if it was my client. You know what I mean? I'd be like, what has happened there? Like, because it's not even just like the result on the day; it's all the work that you put into it. And again, like we said, it's not just about that. It's not just like whether you win. Yeah. If you don't win, wait, I hate when clients go, "I've just put so much into it. I've got to win." I'm like, no, you haven't got to win. You've put so much into it because you wanted to do it.
Yeah,
you put so much into it for the process, not just. I've had clients where they step off stage and they come second and they're like, "Oh, I put all that time in and I've lost." It's like, you didn't just put it all in just to win. Like, there's so much more to it than that. But like, it's more so like the relationship that like you and Tim will have. Like, I'd be fucking gutted for you. You know what I mean? I'd be like, you should have won that. Like, if he'd have beat you fair and square, and we can all see it when somebody's better than someone. Like, we're not deluded. Like, I would hope to think that I've got a decent eye for bodybuilding and classic bodybuilding, and I can go, actually, I think he should win. But when it is like that, and you actually feel like that's not right, like, it's just like injustice. You know what I mean? It's like a horrible feeling. So,
well, Ben, we're putting words into Jack's mouth. Jack, come on, where, like, were you robbed?
But
yeah, he was robbed. He knows what.
I'll start by saying, like I said at the beginning, like, if I get beat by someone better than me, I'm always okay with that. Like, that's fine by me. Like, I'm as long as I've done what I needed to do and someone better beats me, I'm good. Like, I'm chill with that. And when, like, don't get me wrong, when we were doing the comparisons, I thought, I think I got this. It was me and him in the middle. They moved us. We just shared the middle the whole time. And judging off what I saw of him, like, in the bodybuilding, I thought, okay, he's a bit, like, again, a bit thicker. But in terms of, like, a classic physique, I feel like I've got this. And then, obviously, when they announced him as a winner, it wasn't like, oh my God, I've been robbed. It was, oh, okay, I've been beat by someone better. That's it. That's all I can think of, right? And like, but the problem was, like, when they announced him winning, there was just this silence in the crowd, right? And I mean, like, no one, like, there was only a little cheer from, like, the far left of his people. It was like 2 people, right? But it was almost like everyone was clapping, and then they announced it, and they was just like,
yeah, it's like everyone's like, huh?
Yeah, and it was almost like a gasp, and then when I realized what was going on, I was like, nah, they just, he's better. So I just told myself that, And then when I got off stage, I got my stuff ready, and I was walking up these steps, and I saw my parents, I saw my girlfriend, and I saw Tim, and I was like, that was, oh well. And they were like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I've been beat. It is what it is. And they were like, you just got robbed. And I was like, don't say that, please. I was like, I don't want to know. But they were like, no, and they were like all holding back tears, and they were like, everyone's gobsmacked. And like I said, the first person I saw after the show, like when I was waiting for my drug test, was Zach, and he was just like, mate, you've just been robbed. Like, I can't say anything else. Like, it's clear. Like, he said, not only did should he have not won, like he shouldn't have been like in the top 3. It was like that kind of that bad, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I said, I feel like it's always easier to accept that you've been beaten by someone better than controversy. So I just kept telling myself that, you know, so he was better. I was like, he's better. It's okay. I'm good. It's okay. And then, you know, you open up your phone, you see 1 or 2 photos, and you're like, oh, okay.
Maybe I was robbed.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, maybe it's the angle. You know,
no.
I was like, it's the angle. And then my missus started showing me videos, and I was like, you know, I think. So I was trying to make it basically just look for excuses as like to tell myself that I wasn't robbed, because I feel like that was a lot easier to accept. And I'm not saying I'm robbed, right? Because again, it's opinions, it's bodybuilding, it's bodybuilding, man. And like, if I can be subjective and not look at myself and be like, okay, I'm gonna judge these photos, and like that's not me on stage, that's just a guy. If I can judge those photos, no, I would not have him winning. But at the end of the day, the people that had him winning were the judges, and they're the only people's opinions that actually matters. So, yeah. Like, and I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to just give the right answer here and not try to stir the pot, because, you know, it hurt, like, it does hurt a lot. But at the same time, like, nothing's going to change, and I can't change it. And like, yeah, it is a bit weird that you can win a bodybuilding show. Like, you know, again, great bodybuilder, but he's a bodybuilder.
Have you spoken to him?
No, I haven't. No.
Is he French?
No, I think he's German.
Yeah, I thought he was German.
I think, or maybe Turkish, or a bit of both.
Daniel.
Yeah, he's coached by Daniel Kubik. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
He's French. Lil show.
Any reason?
Any reason?
No reason. Just wanted to check. No reason. But you know, like a lot of the time, people will say to their loved ones, like, "Oh, you should have won that. You were robbed." And like, I guarantee you just thought that's what they were doing.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you go, "Fuck off! I shouldn't have won." Like, I obviously didn't. Obviously not, because I lost. Yeah. But then you watch it back and you go, "Oh, maybe actually, yeah." Like, that must be a horrible feeling, because like I've never had that before. Like when I've been beaten, I've gone, "Yeah, like sound, they were better than me," and then I look back and go, "Yeah, I can see why they beat me." Like,
you called me after BMBF saying that you got robbed in that classic show. I'm pretty sure you called me saying you should have won. You were the best bodybuilder. You were the most conditioned. I'm pretty sure.
It wasn't BMBF that I was against. Jack.
A guy with a mullet who was out of shape.
Hey, there's a photo. There's a photo of me, Jack, and Aaron, and I look so small. I'm like, how did I even think like I should have been competing?
16-year-old should have beat you.
I know that he should. That taekwondo or whatever. I don't know how I beat him. That's my claim to fame now. He's fucking massive. But yeah, like that feeling of like getting off stage and people going, "Oh, you look so good. You should have won." Like, I'll have clients that like families members say that to them, and I'll say to them after, like, "No, you deserve to get beat." Like, I'm not being horrible, but you did. Yeah, like you have to be like honest, because they'll be like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "No, you shouldn't have won that. You placed where you should have placed, or you could have been third, but you were fourth, or like whatever it was." But like in that, like that's really hard, because like as a coach, I'd be like, I wouldn't want to go, "Mate, you were robbed," because that's just not. It's not the right message. But then also, I'd be like, that's not right. You know what I mean? I'd want to go and speak to the judges and be like, "What's happened?" Like, did Tim speak to them, or did you get any feedback from them or anything?
So again, well, to get feedback, you have to wait for your official photos and then send them off to the judges. So that's how you get feedback.
You've not heard, they have to have time to eat their like croissants and Bridgeon baguettes. I've heard.
But I think
face full of baguette asking for my feedback.
Sorry, give us the next day, please. We need.
No, I think
escargot. I think it's called
escargot. No, but it is like there's a whole process. You have to wait for your photos and then send them off. So I'm lucky I bought the photos, to be fair, because otherwise I wouldn't have had any feedback. Yeah. So I'm intrigued to see what they say about that. But I think like Tim, I spoke to Tim and I was like, I walked up the stairs and I was like, "Look, I'm sorry, I didn't get you the pro card." he was like, why are you sorry? He's like, mate, you just been robbed. And he said, I wasn't going to say anything, but you've been robbed. He was like, because I felt sorry. I was like, I feel, all my family have come here. I brought Tim here. I was like, I'm going to get you this pro card. And then I fell short. So I felt like I let people down kind of thing. And then he was like, look, I'm not going to show you photos yet, but like, just know you've been robbed. And I was like, I thought, okay, he wouldn't just say that, but at the same time, he's trying to protect my feelings, And then I walked up these steps, and then about 4 people stopped, and they were like, mate, we're so sorry that happened. People I didn't know. And then like, there was other people, obviously there's, like I said, Zach was there, Lewis was there. There was a lot of people there. They were like, look, it shouldn't have gone that way. And then it's funny because I was like, okay, all these people tell me I should have won. And then I opened my phone and I was tagged in this story and I randomly just clicked on it. And it was this French guy. And he just randomly went in on the decision. Doesn't know me, doesn't follow me in anything. And he was like, it's the craziest thing I've seen. He's like, I don't understand how this has just happened. Like, you just be like, there's actual classic physiques up there, and then there's a bodybuilder, and he's rewarded. And then he was touching upon like the pro card situation. Like, he's already got a pro card. He should be on the stage. And then when I realized there was all like it pissed quite a lot of people off, I was like, okay, this might be a little bit worse than I think.
Yeah.
And then I just started seeing all these stories. I wasn't even tagged in them, but there was just people writing stuff like how is he won? Like, how is this classic? How is he fitting both criteria? And then after that, I was like, maybe it is a bit worse than, like I said, that I'm telling myself to make myself feel better. But at the time, I was like, nah, I'm just gonna accept that I've been beaten by someone else. But yeah, looking back at the photos now and stuff like that, it's probably harder to take now. But at the time, there was just so much going on.
It's probably been, like, I'd say, Finn and Jack, other than that, probably the worst I'd seen feedback afterwards, like the worst backlash probably of the recent years, especially considering it's not like a massive show. It's a natural pro qualifier. Like, like at amateur levels, I can't remember any, like, even within enhanced bodybuilding that admittedly probably has a bit more eyes on it. I can't remember years any like feedback where there's like a lot of people going, what the fuck?
I think a lot of that though is like the amount of eyes that you had probably going into it, because you do look good, because you look good, and because people know who you are now, because you've competed for years and stuff, like, because of that, and because you waited and didn't do any of the natty shows, people are waiting for you to compete. Like, if you'd have done loads of shows and you'd won loads of other stuff and then that happened, it's like, oh, that's a shame. But because it was just that's the goal. Like, obviously everybody's invested in it, everybody wants you to get it, and then when you don't, it's like, that's fucking annoying. We were saying before the podcast, like Jack was saying, people were more annoyed than you were. Yeah. Like, because you're in that headspace where it's just so overwhelming. You're just like, oh, just let me like deal with it. Let me just like give me some time, and then I'll probably analyze it. And like everyone else who's in peak off season, who've got all the energy in the world, they're like, what the fuck? And you're like, oh, just let me like chill.
Yeah, it was like every time I opened my phone, there was like a new post on like the Beyond the Stage page, and I was like, it was like, oh, so and so won, and then it was like I said, it was oh, how can you win 2 pro cards? And then it was like, how can he fit 2 criterias? And then it's the previous drug test, and then it was all these things, and I was like, this isn't just one thing. And then each post was just blown up for a different reason. But then there's people arguing on a post about like the drug test, and then there was all these French comments in like about the drug test, and then there was all these like German people like fighting back.
Were you like tagged in all of this?
Yeah.
So your phone was just like...
So my phone was like, you've just come off stage and I'm already tagged in like photos and stuff like that. And then like Beyond the Stage have tagged me in all this. So I'm getting all the notifications for all this stuff. And I'm just looking at my phone and I'm like, what is going on? And they got like 100 comments. Like some of the comments have got like 100 likes. And I'm like, the comments have got more likes than the actual fucking post. I'm like, what's going on? And I'm just like, I'm not one of those people that likes to get wrapped up in all that. So I was like, this is like, and I was like, this is the worst case scenario. Yeah, like, I was like, this is the worst. I don't care if I come here and I didn't get what I wanted, but to not get what I wanted, but now for all of this to be happening as well, I was like, for someone like me, this is the worst thing. Because I hate like when all the eyes are on me kind of thing, or like I'm wrapped up in that kind of stuff. So that's why I didn't post about anything. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm just going to let everyone else, like I said, battle it for me. And they kind of they did. And they all just went in on each other. And they kind of left me alone. So I was happy with that.
think a lot of people would love that. They'd be like, "Oh, look at everything that's going on!" Like, but like again, how I know you, and I guess like from the conversations we've had, and I can tell you're not that type of guy, and it's just
No,
like,
man.
like that. I don't want that.
That's not for me. Nah, like I don't like the controversy alone is like I don't want to be part of it, and then not like I said, just for there to be one controversy, like, oh, I shouldn't have beat Jack. Yeah, that's one thing. But then with all the other stuff as well, I was like, that's way too much. Do you know what I mean? And like, I'm good.
So in terms of plans now, then, so you've done your bloods.
No, so my bloods are getting done. So they're being done next week. Hopefully, I got to get. I'm waiting for the kit to come, and then I'm gonna get them done next week.
Early prediction on testosterone based off erection quality, mate. What you reckon?
Oh, mate, to be fair, not that hard, not that bad, you know.
Not that hard.
Not that hard.
Not that soft. No, once I started eating a bit more food, I started to feel a bit more normal. But obviously, it's gone again now. I'm not gonna lie, but it's gonna be like awful, innit?
Yeah.
To be fair, I've actually never had my bloods done at post show. I was gonna have them done last year, but I put it off.
It's not worth it, like, unless you're doing what you're doing. That's the only time I'd say to a client to do it. Like, otherwise, I'm like, please don't do it. Like, the amount of times that clients go, "Hey, mate, I'm getting my bloods done." It's like 1 week post show, and I'm like, no, like, it's just going to stress you out. It's going to be awful.
Yeah.
It's not going to look good. I know everyone's like, oh, you know, natural bodybuilding is healthy, and I'm like,
no, preps in general is so taxing.
It's not healthy, mate.
The worst my ever are literally after a prep. Like, I can keep more gear in an off season, but body fat just masks all your issues. Just low body fat, natural or enhanced. Wait a good amount of time. Your bloods are going to be fucked. You're going to get in your own head. You're going to see, oh my god, I've got low test. My grandma's got more test than me, and then think you need TRT when in reality.
Yeah, that's what is sad. Like, people do, and the thing is, the doctors don't know. They don't really get it. So like, they'll be like, oh, you know, you've got really, really low testosterone. You obviously need TRT, and it's like, mate, I'm peeled. Like, I was on stage.
Look at me. To be fair, like even like getting them done. I was thinking about it. I was like, I'm curious to see what they're like, but I'm also very like aware they're going to be terrible because I figured out earlier. They like I've prepped for back-to-back years, right? Which I've never recommend you do, but it's because it's not very fun. And in the last 90 weeks, I've been on prep for 65. Yeah. And I worked it out yesterday. I was like, I need to know. And like that as a natural athlete is not going to do anything good for you. Do you know what I mean? Like so. I'm not like saying I'm excited to go for the next step just because to get rid of that, but it's like you don't feel great, and regardless of like, yes, test's going to be low, but when you get as lean as we do, you're not going to feel good.
Yeah,
that's one thing. Like, I feel like because you are quite level-headed, I feel like you always manage. When I've seen you, like, I wouldn't have known you were that trash last year, other than how you looked. You know what I mean? Because you didn't look great. But like, speaking to you, you weren't like, oh my god, mate, I'm so battered. You were just like, you know what I mean? You weren't like people would be like, you know, as soon as they feel fatigued, like, oh, this is so hard. I feel like you're the opposite, and you're just kind of like, I'm just going to go with it and crack on. But like, and then people get this perception that it's easy.
It's it's not like
the that you've got in. It's not easy.
I think, and I spoke about this with Tim not long ago. I think, like, it sounds so simple, but when you come to the realization, like, you're going to be hungry, you're going to be tired, you're going to be fatigued, things are not always going to be easy. Once you like actually fully accept that, it becomes a lot easier. It's not easy because you still got to do the work. Like for example, 25 minutes of cardio a day this year felt just as hard as 60 did last year, right? But it was just that's how it felt. But because I know I've got to do the work, and I know I'm doing the work for what I want, it's not a chore because I'm choosing to do it. Enjoying it. So if I look at things, like, there are days where I had to like push myself a little harder to go and do my steps, for example. But at the end of the day, it's literally my choice to do it. So it's not hard to make me do something that I already want to do. I just need to just go and do it, if that makes sense. You know, and like, it's like, I always say preps are not hard. I feel like the things that I struggle with most on prep, honestly, is like the sacrifices that come with it, like missing out on, for example, on like social occasions, which I'm not like the food and that doesn't bother me. Like it's like maybe not having the energy to go to my mum's birthday party and be like, oh, talkative, you know? That's what hurts me the most. Yeah, like, you know, like for example, like since I've been back from France for 5 days, I've been to my sister's 4 times because I've missed out on my nephews and my niece over the last 9 months because I haven't had the time or energy to spend time with them, you know. And now that I've got a little bit more time, like that's what I struggle with, is not being able to be a good uncle, or not being able to be like.
Last year I made like a promise to myself that I would go to my sister's on the way home from Rotherham every Tuesday night to see my niece and nephew. And I did it for, do you remember, Reese? I probably did it for months. And like, it got to a point where my sister was literally like, please stop coming. She was like, you're not okay. She was like,
I know.
You don't have to come. I was like, I know I don't have to, but I want to.
Yeah.
I was like, this is something that I want to do because it's making me feel as though I'm still being a human.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yeah, but you're not. Like, you're coming round and you're just not even there. Like, when we're
Yeah.
talking to you and stuff. So like got to a point where I was like, okay, like maybe I shouldn't go. But even then, I kind of regret not going because I enjoyed it. As much as it probably didn't look like I did, I enjoyed it. Even if the kids were annoying and loud, I enjoyed being there, even if it didn't feel like I was there. You know what I mean? It's like I'm still trying. Like, but yeah, it's weird to think that because like now, like how I feel now, if I go, it's like, yeah, cool. Like anything's like, yeah, sound, I can do this, I can do that. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think, oh, am I going to feel tired, or oh yeah, what am I going to do for food? Like, because you're in an off season, you don't have to really stress. Like getting out of that headspace that you're probably in now or coming out of, like it's a hard one to get out of when you've been so deep in it, especially for so long with you. If it's been like 60 weeks out of, but it probably helped you a lot, that phase in between where you took a bit of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that honestly, that's the one thing I've struggled with the most. Like especially like it sounds bad to say, but like I have such good support that sometimes it almost hurts me because like my parents will come to all my shows and I'm like, look, go on holiday. Like, no, we're coming to your show. Go and do something. No, we're coming to your show. Or like, you know, like everyone's invested in me. I know like people, and I feel like sometimes people are waiting for me to finish my prep so they can go and live their life, if that makes sense. You know, so sometimes I feel guilty. I'm like, fuck, I'm still on prep. Like I've been prepping for 2 years. I'm still on prep. Like my family, like, oh, we can go away next year. And I'm like, no, I'm doing a prep. You know, like this year, you know, and they're like, well, we're not going to go without you, so we're not going to go. So I'm like, it's like I felt guilty in the end. I was like, okay, I just want this to be over so I can just be a normal son or a grandson again, so they can just go and live their lives and they haven't got to book like time off work to come to France with me, or they haven't got to like think, oh, are we going to do this, or you can't come, so maybe we won't go for food today. We'll wait till you're done with prep. You just start feeling like, that's what I feel. I just start feeling guilt, and that's what I struggle with the most, is like feeling like I'm taken away from other people, you know?
I think it's
just go on.
No, so I literally going to jump in. I was like, I think it's more so the other people that get impacted way more than yourself. Like, I was thinking when you were saying that, like I prepped last year and it was like 5 months, 6 months, and I genuinely did like fuck all, like nothing, and I really liked that. I did nothing other than go to the gym, and like Finn mentioning about his sister, I don't have any siblings. It was just me. I saw my girlfriend, like she came around 3-4 days of the week. She was prepping as well, and then I did nothing. And when I finished, my mum was actually more excited when we went out for food. She was like, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. And I literally said to her, you know, I'm the one who's finished the prep. And I was like, you're way happier. And it's great to see. But it's like she hadn't gone out for food for 6 months because I wasn't going out for food. And my girlfriend was prepping as well. So it was like, well, she's not going out for food. So like in a weird way, it was quite nice because I was like so just doing.
Did you realise that when you were prepping?
No, you don't realise it.
See, no. I didn't. You know how Jack was just saying then? He was like, I feel guilty. I didn't realise.
I didn't feel guilty because I didn't realise I shouldn't feel guilty. I was like, I'm prepping, this is me. Like it was like this bubble of nothing exists other than like what I've got to do work-wise and what I've got to do in the gym and what I've got to do food. Nothing else exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very I think I'm very conscious of everything like around me when I prep.
No,
you know, like I'm like, even like, for example, like my missus prep this year as well, right? And she actually dieted for longer than me, and her prep ended about 5 weeks before mine ended, I think, or before my first show. And her prep ended, and obviously like she was going through the post-show struggles as you do. And then all I can think of is like, I feel bad that I'm still going through this. Yeah. I was like, I feel bad. I feel guilty that I'm still prepping when you're struggling, you know? And I was like, and she was like, yeah, but you haven't even started your season yet. I was like, I know, I just want it to end so we can like go off and just chill out. was like, I feel like you need to chill out, and I can't be there to take you there, you know, because I'm still very much regimented. So like that was amazing, like having her to prep with. But towards the end, it became like when she finished, it became harder just because I felt so guilty, you know. And like it's the same as everything. It's like not seeing my grandparents because like they might be ill, and I don't want to get ill, so they're like, don't come down. And I'm like, yeah, you know, you're my grandparents. I want to come see you, and they're like, no, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. It's like that they all things I'm very conscious of when I'm on prep. It's not like I don't struggle with like going and do cardio or training or anything. Like
that's quite refreshing though, because like again, I'm like Reese, and I get so like sort of like tunnel vision that I don't even remember or think about other people around me, which is not good. Other than like literally clients,
Yeah.
like, and then like even you saying that now, it's like, yeah, like the amount of people that it does impact, like the amount of clients that came to my shows to see me, like that's ridiculous, that's amazing. Like, and like obviously I'd say thank you on the day, but like even like now I feel like I still probably didn't show enough like
You were
gratitude.
hiding in a fucking like sleeping bag on one of your shows, mate.
I know, mate. This is what I mean.
And you know the funniest thing, Finn? You know, you said that, you laughed, you said, I know. You didn't say that for like the next 4 or 5 months after your prep. You were convinced, you were like, nah, I made the right decision being in a sleeping bag. Like,
at the time, I did, mate. I couldn't face anything or anyone.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder, like, Shannon fucking hated me. Like, honestly, I do feel sorry. I feel sorry.
People playing bingo, Finn mentions Shannon, they're like, yes, there we go, right, Finn's mentioned.
We'll have this podcast for like the next 10 years. I have to cut it in a one.
Mate, you said about me with Sophie. You've been worse. I mentioned like one of my exes, and Finn's like,
He says one of his exes every time. He's only ever had
No.
one. So he says every time one of my exes.
Brings out the same way.
It's
No,
the
it's
one.
not
Every time I go,
longest.
Sophie, yeah? He's like, yeah, it was Sophie.
You know what? I'm going to start mentioning stories of other girls, and then be like, one of my exes, and then just trip you up and be like, hey, got you. Yeah. And then you'll be like, who? And I'll be like, Bruce. You don't know about Bruce, you know?
Bruce, yeah.
Bruce and James, you know? There's nothing. It's 2024, mate. You can't judge.
All right, I think that's a good point to end it on.
A good point to ending on. Jack, what is hashtag show the world? We'll end on that. We'll end on a cool little like hashtag.
What is it? As cliche as
it's supposed to be. Didn't you have like was it one goal and then show the world? Did you have those two hashtags?
No, it was show the world. It was job's not finished.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the job's not finished. That was like an internal joke between me and Tim, but it kind of turned into actual like hashtags. Like, people texting me like job's not finished. I was like, all right, cool. Show the world was I kind of like not came up with it, but one day I was like, because I've always been like a quite timid person, and like reserved and all these things, and then one day I was like, fuck this, I'm gonna show the world who I am. I was like, I'm done like just trying to be this fake person. So I just started the hashtag just for show the world, and I kind of it's whatever it means to that person, it kind of means. And like to me, it was just actually showing the world who I am and not being afraid to like hide things. Like sorry, not being afraid to like show everything and try to hide things and all that bullshit. So it just kind of turned into like my little thing, and like I said, people kind of like caught onto it, and they're like, I'm just going to show the world who I am, and I'm like. That's it was just like my own personal little like victory a few years ago when I was like, look, I'm done being this like timid kid who's afraid to show every part of him. Like if I like whatever I like it. If I'm this kind of person, I don't need to be who I'm not and pretend to be someone else. Like it's okay. And ever since I've been like that, people have kind of like caught on, and it seems like people like me a bit more when I'm just me. So it's a lot easier to be me than anyone else.
That's a good one to end on. That is nice. I think that's like it is the easiest thing to do is just be yourself, but it's also like the hardest thing to do.
It's the easiest and hardest thing you can do is just be you. And I think, like I said, and I say it to a lot of people a lot. It's just like just embrace who you are. And I know it's not so cliche and all, but it's like it is just embrace who you are. Like people probably like you a lot more when you're you than when you like try to portray someone who you think they're gonna like. You know, because if we're all trying to just put on this mask and stuff, then we're never going to actually get to know each other. We're never going to actually like each other as much as we probably think we are. And I was like, I'm done trying to fit in. I'm done trying to just do all this stuff that I'm not. I'm just going to be who I am. If people like me, that's great. If they don't, it's okay. It's just opinions. And it's their right to have an opinion on who I am. Like, just as I have opinion on things and people, it's your opinion to have, right?
Fantastic, mate. Finn, that was a masterclass for myself. I thought to myself, I'm going to end on that because I like.
Yeah, we need to work out how to do the reels on these podcasts because that'll be a
Jack,
good reel.
you've been a great guest, mate. It's been fantastic.
I appreciate it. It's been good to be on you. It's been good. It's been nice to talk about it. It's been good to have a chat with you too.
Is this the first time you've properly spoken about it, like other than obviously in your circle?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
See me now.
So I appreciate it. JKC exclusive. We're going straight.
Exclusive.
Cool.
Jack doesn't hold back.
Yeah, mate, we're gonna clickbait the fuck out of it.
I'm okay with
Being
that.
robbed two bros.
Robbed
I was robbed in capital.
No, a photo of Jack hitting like a front lat spread with like a speech coming out of his mouth. I was robbed.
I'll do it.
I was robbed by baguette eating judges or whatever, and like that's it. Like career over, career suicide. Yeah, all good. Right, Jack, thank you for your time, mate.
My pleasure.
Been awesome, really, really good. We'll have this up in the next few days. Yeah, sound. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. We definitely have to get Jack in the studio like sometime in the future when we can show you some cool stuff that we've got planned, mate. But it'd be great to do like an in-person one because I think it'd be fantastic. So
yeah, that'd be awesome. I look forward to it, man. Thanks for having me. It's been really good.
Yeah, awesome. Right, thanks for your time, everyone. Hopefully,
I'll take it.
like, comment, subscribe. See you later. Bye bye.